Hey there, happy people. Welcome to our continuing adventure of coming back from fear. We're taking another step today on our path of putting some of our superpowers into practice. Today's focus will be on the emotion of disappointment. I feel that this is one of the most eye-opening of our emotions. And I think this because it's the continual disappointment in external conditional love that eventually drives us to search for love inside of ourselves. It is the design. We're taught to look outside of ourselves for contentment, for unconditional love, but we cannot find that outside of us. We came here to experience that search and what it might feel like to be unlovable and rejectable. It's only a movie, though, because we could never, ever not be lovable, since we are unconditionally loved by the Mother and Father of all things, always. So let's take a look at this feeling of disappointment we get to experience here in this grand experiment. Is it my fault if I'm not living up to your expectations? And is it your fault that you aren't living up to my expectations? Let's take a look. Take some deep breaths as we glance at a disappointing experience in my life that probably many of you can relate to. If you can't relate to it, this example, think of one of your own. Just look back, and when did you feel let down by someone else? A great source of disappointment can be found in relationships. What better way to experience this emotion than having a lifetime of expectations be created through our education, through movies, songs, books, and perceptions of other individuals' relationships. The bar is set in our minds of who someone should be to us. For friends, it might be always have my back, support my ideas, always, put me before all of your other friends, always be available for me when I need you. For dating relationships, we might take it even up a notch to date only me, choose me, give me gifts, know my thoughts without me having to tell you, be honest with me, be vulnerable to me. And then when we make it a more permanent type of relationship by either moving in together or getting engaged or maybe even getting married, we raise that bar even higher. Don't look at anyone else or even come across as flirting. Of course, never cheat on me with anyone else. No matter how I treat you, treat me like royalty. Go on vacation where I want to go. Or maybe move to the city I want to move to for my career or for my dreams. There are so many different ideas that we each come up with on who someone should be to us. And we may never really see who the person is truly while we have all these ideas in our heads. Because we can only see the world and other people through the filters of our own beliefs. And maybe that's why they say love is blind. Because we are indeed blinded by our own perceptions of what the world should be. Our fear ego will twist and interpret actions of others into our belief system inside of us in order to support its deception. It's interesting that when we first meet people we are attracted to, we think they are amazing and perfect just as they are. They blow our socks off, and we feel so lucky to have met them. And then as the friendship or relationship progresses, our fear ego will start trying to define the relationship in order to feel safe. So it will put titles on the relationship. We ask, are we best friends? Or maybe we'll push the other person to understand if, are we dating or are we just hanging out? What are your intentions toward me? Do you want to get married someday or have children? In pushing to define where we stand, we can end up pushing someone away instead of enjoying them for who they are right now. When we step out of this moment into the future, we have left love and have moved into fear. I also find it interesting reflecting back on my past relationships. We can see that the person we were dating was the same person they were when we first met them. It was only our perception of them that changed as we raised the expectations bar on them. In the beginning, what they were giving was amazing and abundant because we had zero expectations on them. And then as we raised the bar, without them knowing it, what they were giving seemed to become less. And eventually, we might have even raised the expectations above what they were giving to the point where what they were giving now suddenly didn't become enough. A simple example of this is if someone brings us one donut unexpectedly. Wow, we're so grateful. But we also might wonder, and maybe expect a little, that maybe they'll bring us another donut tomorrow. And then what if they do? Wow, we might be a little less grateful because we kind of expected it. Now, the donutless day 3 could be a hard day. Why do they hate me? What have I done to deserve this? There are so many opportunities to be disappointed in our lives. I'm kind of challenged to remember a specific situation that was so disappointing to share, but I have all these thoughts flying through my head. So many memories. Like the first time my brother chose to play with his friends instead of with me. When we moved out of state the first time, away from all my friends and familiar surroundings. When my dad did not come to an award ceremony at school because he was working. My mom not letting me have that toy I wanted in the store. And then going on to the future where I didn't get the job I applied for. Or when my first boyfriend cheated on me. Or when my second boyfriend cheated on me. And my friends not having time for me. Our lives are richly full of disappointments, all made possible by our sponsor of expectations. So let's take some more deep breaths as we look at how we can apply our superpowers to disappointment. The power to laugh. When we say the expectation that we have out loud to ourselves, it really becomes silly enough that we might just have to laugh at it. And if it doesn't make us laugh, then we can choose to force a smile, at least as a start. You must be who I want you to be. Seriously? No, not seriously. That is a joke. Because that would require them to know our every thought and expectation in order to never disappoint us. And that can be scary if they knew all that. And they would have to be the only ones around us because other people would probably require them to meet their expectations too. So off to a desert island we go, just the two of us, so that we can be happy. That can sound more scary than funny, I know, at least in the beginning. Laugh it up, laugh it off. It's so silly thinking we could rule the world. The power of thank you. We can find ourselves being thankful for unanswered prayers and wishes. When we begin to focus on what about someone we are thankful for, we begin to drop our expectations of who we think we want them to be in order for us to feel lovable. We can clear our vision of who we think we see or who we want someone or something to be, and we can see them or the situation as amazing because they are, because the situation is amazing. The power of now, whatever the situation may be, whether it's a relationship related type of situation or just life related, we can be thankful that everything is designed for our highest experience here. So we can release our expectations of the future, and in this moment, we can celebrate what is. Those feelings of disappointment can be flags to be grateful, or at least begin to look at what these amazing things that are happening right here, right now. The power of no. We can say no to all these expectations that are biting us, trying to get our attention. By choosing to let them go and surrendering to what is, we find true freedom inside us. Thoughts will keep coming to us, and we can continue to say no to them each time. They don't have to wear us down to give in. We are strong. The power to question. Once we have reached a place of calm, where we are no longer in our fight or flight mode, we can take some time to question our expectations. We will probably find that they are all rooted in fear, and they're all related to how we are determining our worth by external things. Expectations equal disappointment. I asked these questions at the beginning of the podcast. Am I responsible for your disappointment if I don't meet up to your expectations? Well, I would have to answer no to that question. You would also receive the same answer to questioning, are you responsible for my disappointment for not living up to my expectations? Freedom comes to both sides when we realize that others' opinions of us are none of our business. All that opinion and judgment of others comes from within us and nowhere else. But don't fret. This is good news. We have all the power within us to change our perception of others, our perception of the world, and our perception of ourselves. Something that opened my eyes even more was realizing that even if I did have what I thought I wanted, I wouldn't finally be content. What I think I need isn't really what I'm searching for. It is just all disguised in this person or the situation I'm trying to obtain. Ultimately, I am searching for unconditional love. That can't be found outside of myself. In this physical world, all I can find outside of myself is conditional love. It's that empty carb imitation. I will end this podcast with an old Facebook post that I found the other day that I entitled Bursting Bubbles. We each have our own life to live while we are here. All of us have a different adventure that we came here for. To try to tell someone how their adventure should go or how they should live their life is, well, kind of nosy. If we open our own gift and read the instructions on how to put it together, that usually comes together quite nicely. But if, without seeing what another person's gift is, we tell them to use our instructions, that can confuse the situation, and it probably will result in leftover parts with a non-working apparatus. Maybe we can realize that none of us are the same. Maybe we can watch as the other person opens their own gift and celebrate with them. Maybe we can support each other in our very own dreams without poking at others. The adventure works its way out. After all, an adventure is about the journey and not so much about the destination. Love is always the lesson. Next episode, we're going to look at the emotion of disgust. Until then, cut yourself some slack. We do pressure ourselves that suddenly we shouldn't be feeling uncomfortable emotions. We don't often give ourselves the grace to take steps to get somewhere. We want to be there now instead of taking the adventure. So take some deep breaths as often as you can. And maybe take a look at some of the things that have disappointed you recently. Take your superpowers and understand what is at the root of your fears. Each step we take in coming back from fear and realizing our superpowers, we start remembering who we really are. Powerful, supernatural beings made from unconditional love. And remember, you never have to do anything you don't want to do.